So, tonight, I want to reveal to you a mystery. And it may be something that some of y'all have known before, you've read before, you've heard taught before. Maybe you've just thought of it yourself before. I'm telling you, this is one of the biggest keys to your success in life that we'll ever talk about. Going to the next level of life, accomplishing dreams. This is one of those things that even as we put it in your head and your heart tonight, your flesh will fight against it. Even though your head and your heart says, you need to do this, your flesh may fight against it. I want to talk tonight about elevating your life by elevating those around you. Now listen to this passage that I know a lot of you have heard many, many times. In Galatians 6, beginning in verse 7. And God starts out very dogmatic about what's about to be said here. He says, do not be deceived. Well, Paul does rather. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. The one who sows to please his sinful nature or his flesh, from that nature will reap destruction. The one who sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. And most people, when they preach this passage, they'll read verse 7, 8, and 9, and they stop. But verse 10 gives context, because everyone knows you reap what you sow. Paul's saying, you know, if you want to reap, you've got to sow. Don't give up. And then he gives a context that people don't always read. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people. He's saying, here's where I want your sowing to really show up in other people's lives. So I want to ask you a question tonight. I want you to think about it for a second. You may or may not want to answer it. What we'll do tonight, whatever you answer, I might echo it so that the camera will hear it. I want to ask you a question, and you may wonder, what has this got to do with anything? But if you hold on, we're going to build something tonight that's going to make sense. The question is simply this. It's an easy question, but it may not be easy to answer. How do you see yourself? That's where we got to start tonight. How do you see yourself? Is there anybody here brave enough to answer that? Yes. How do you see yourself, Mikey?
Depends on what day it is.
Depends on what day it is. That's honest.
I mean, honestly, there's some days I feel like that I'm the greatest person ever, and then there's sometimes I think I'm the biggest loser, failure, all that.
How many can relate to that? Some days you feel like you're a winner. Some days you feel like you're a loser. Just a bum. Can't get anything right. Think back when we were the early weeks of this class, Next Level, and we were talking about integrity. Integrity. I won't ask for a show of hands or anything, but how many, if you went to describe yourself tonight, and you were going to write it all down, you had to write a description of how you see yourself, and you knew nobody was going to see it, you were just doing it for yourself, that way you could be completely honest, how many would say, I see myself as a person of integrity? How many would say, I see myself as very loyal? Some of you are probably very loyal friends. And how many would write that down and say, I see myself as loyal. I see myself as trustworthy. Maybe if some of us are honest, we would write things down like, I see myself as untrusting. If you wanted to detail it in your little autobiography, you might say, this happened to me at this stage in life, and it kind of changed how I viewed life. And now I don't really trust people because people have let me down so much. I just don't trust people anymore. You might be someone who would honestly admit, I fight some anger issues. And I don't see myself as very nice a lot of times. See, if we're all like Mike, we would confess the good, the bad, and the ugly if we thought nobody was ever going to read this, or at least if I didn't sign my name on it. How do we see ourselves? How do we see ourselves? The positives and the negatives. And here's why I'm asking that question. Because how you see yourself becomes a filter to how you see others. You will not be an exception to this. How you see yourself is how you will tend to see others, the things that you will notice. It becomes a filter. So if you say, for example, I see myself as an untrusting person. I just don't trust very many people. That's how you will view people, that they are not very trustworthy. If you view yourself as a very loyal person, you will tend to see loyalty in other people. Whatever the positives are that you would list for yourself, you will tend to see those things in other people. Whatever you would list honestly about the negatives that you see in yourself, it will become a filter, and you will tend to notice those things in other people. How you see others determines then how you treat others. How you see them. Does this not make perfect sense? I told you, we're building to something. How do you see yourself? How you see yourself becomes a filter, and it determines how you see other people. How you see people determines how you treat people. How you see people depends on what you expect from people. If you list a bunch of positive things that you see in yourself, and you tend to see those things in other people, would you say it will tend to make you treat those people better than if you didn't see those things? Would you say that if you saw a lot of positive things in yourself, it became a filter and you tended to see that in a lot of other people, would it change how you expect from them? Absolutely it does. How we treat people and how we expect from them is all based on how we see them. But how we see them stems from how we see ourselves. You show me somebody who would be honest enough to say, I hate myself. I'll show you somebody that probably doesn't like anybody else. How many times have we told our kids that when they come home telling us story after story about some kid at school that's always mad, always bullying them, always being mean to them, and we try to tell our kids, well, baby, it's not about you, it's about them. This is their issue. It's because of things going on in them. It's why we get little lines like misery loves company. Because if you're miserable, you want to make everybody else miserable. How you see yourself is how you're going to tend to see other people. And it dictates how you treat them, and it dictates what you expect out of them. There's an old John Maxwell story that I absolutely love. It's the story of a weary traveler that left his town that he lived in many years, and he decided it was time for a change and to relocate him. So he's traveling, he came to a new town, and outside the gate of this new town was an old man. Before entering the gate of the new town, he asked the old man, he said, can you tell me something about the people in this town? And the old man said, well, tell me what the people were like in the town you just left. He said, oh, you couldn't trust any of them. They were grumblers, they were backbiters. I did not like those people in that town at all, so I left. The old man said, well, I'm sorry to report to you, that's exactly what you're going to see in this town. A few minutes later, lo and behold, another traveler comes to enter the gate. He stops and he asks the old man, hey, old man, what are the people like in this town? And the old man said, well, what were the people like in the town you just left? He said, oh, they were awesome. They were wonderful. They were so trustworthy. They were so kind. To tell you the truth, it really hurts me to even leave them. And the old man said, well, guess what? That's exactly what you're going to see in the people in this town. Isn't that interesting? Same town, same group of people. Moral to the story is, you're going to see in these people whatever you have been seeing in people in other places. You can change your environment. You can change your town. You can change your church. You can change your marriage. You can't really change your kids. Well, diapers, but change where you work, change your neighborhood. Whatever you saw in people at the last place, that's exactly what the people are going to be like in the next place. Because that's what we will see through our filters, which ultimately comes from how we see ourselves. Here's the whole point to this. The people around you, that's around you, day in and day out, the people you work with, the people in your family, the people in your church, the people that you recreate with and go do things with, the people that are immediately in your life, they become your significant well from which success in life is drawn from. This is the mystery that we're going to talk about tonight, that success, even as we talked about a few weeks ago, it may not be something that everybody supports with your dreams, your passions, your visions. So people may not believe in you. They may mock you, make fun of you, and you have to find the faith to push through. While that's all true, as you push into life, your success is going to completely hinge on those around you. You're going to believe that by the time we get done here, if you don't believe that yet. It becomes the well, your significant well that you draw success in life from. Your success will always be ultimately decided by the people around you. Not launching out, not getting started. People may laugh at you and mock at you getting started, but once you push out by faith and you start proving yourself, you say, I'm going to the next level in life. It is the people around you that becomes the ones that validate where you're going in life, what you're doing in life, what you're accomplishing in life. I love when Jesus is sitting around with his disciples and he says, so who do you guys think that I am? Who do you say that I am? And they said, well, some say that you're Elijah. Some say that you're John the Baptist. They're saying reincarnated to come back from the dead. It's weird things people thought. He said, I don't care what other people are saying. They're not around me. They're not my significant well. What about you guys? Who do you say that I am? And you know what Peter said? I think you're the Christ. Jesus was waiting on those around him in his life every day to declare, this is who you are. His ministry was going to depend on that, because his ministry on earth was going to be short-lived as far as physical hands-on. The work of the cross would be eternal, but the things Jesus would be here preaching and teaching and demonstrating was only going to last 3 years. Birthing and building the church was going to depend on the people in his significant well. What did they see? Who did they think that he is? Jesus' success was hinged completely into those following him. That's why he went some places and he couldn't do any miracles. He went other places and he did incredible miracles, because his success was always defined within those around him. So this may be short and sweet tonight, but I want to leave time to talk about this. But I want to give you 5, and I don't know whether to call them natural laws or supernatural laws, of elevating your life by elevating those in your life. I will tell you this, it is human nature. These 5 principles, these 5 human nature laws, you will not be able to deviate from it. You will not find yourself an exception to it. You will not find a back door. You will not find a hidden route. You will not be able to bypass this. If you want to take your life to the next level, if you want to find bigger success in your life. I was reading something today that was just talking about it, and I don't even remember who the author was now because it was online and I'd never heard of the guy before, but he was talking about elevating your life. And he was just talking about the innate nature for people wanting to better their life. And we've talked about that here a few weeks ago. We believe that's human nature. Some people, yes, are broken, they're beat down, they've been discouraged, and they're lucky if they get out of bed. We understand there are circumstances like that. But on a normal day in normal circumstances, it's normal for human beings to want to better their life, to be more than they are, to have more than they have, to do more than they've done. We're created in the image of God. Day one wasn't enough for God. There had to be a day 2, and a day 3, and a day 4, and a day 5, day 6. We're made in His image. 5 laws or principles of elevating your life by elevating those in your life. First law or principle. Some of these will sound like they're a little bit redundant, but they are just a little bit different. Okay. People are interested in people who show genuine signs of interest in them. I'm going to say that again. People are interested in people who show genuine signs of interest in them. Now, how many of you guys know that's true? You've experienced that because you have been very drawn to people who show genuine interest in your life. Kim and I had a pastor many years ago that it was like a gift for him. God used this man to completely transform the route of where my life was going. And I couldn't see it and understand it all at the time, but when you get older, you learn more about how life works, and you look back and you have aha moments. It became very clear to me years later that the reason that man had so much power in my life to help direct me was because he had such genuine interest in my life. Nothing was token. I mean, when we worked out and we ran together, and it's like, it was almost like he was doing it just to get me to do it. It's like he made it all about me. We did Bible studies together. He was really into the tabernacle and the symbolism of the tabernacle and the priesthood, all the Old Testament pictures that are in Exodus specifically. He was very gifted in that area. And we would sit and we would talk about it, but he was always so interested. And I was just a young, dumb kid. I hadn't seen anything. I was trying to learn from him. I realized, though, that I was gleaning from him so well because he was showing so much genuine interest in what I thought and what I saw. People are repelled by self-interest. They are. You are, and I am. People that are always promoting themselves, people that make it very obvious that everyone in their life is to serve them and promote them and make their life better and you know, what can you do for me today? It's just human nature. We are repelled by that. But isn't it interesting how we're drawn to people who seem to have genuine interest in our life? It's a step. It's a step that's necessary in elevating our life by elevating those in our lives. The second law or principle spins off of that. People promote people who promote them. They just do. People promote people who promote them. I'm not talking about kiss-ups. I'm talking about genuine stuff here. We all can tell if someone's giving us token praise, token whatever, stroking us and buttering us up just because they're trying to get us to do something for them. We all know. When you see someone who has a habit of being condescending, it's quite a turnoff. People promote people who promote them. I became aware of this fresh in my life just in the past few months in a specific situation with one of my running buddies. He comes to church here a lot. He was here last Sunday. He was here a few Wednesday nights ago, but he works at a law office and he doesn't get home in time to come here most Wednesday nights. We made him the president of our Southern West Virginia Roadrunners Club. The reason everybody screamed and yelled for him to be president, they would have it no other way, because this man works overtime being interested in other people's lives and promoting them. He's one of the faster runners in our whole region. He's one of the fast old guys. He's just a few years younger than me, but a whole lot faster than me. He's devoted his life to running, his whole life to working out. His core is he's got like 10 six-packs going on. He's just so muscular. He's devoted so much time. He's the one that everybody should say, oh, Daniel. That's not Daniel. I'm going to act like you're not here, okay?
I'm not here.
I wasn't even going to talk about Daniel if he was going to be here, but since he's here, I got to him. I'm going to brag on him because he won't brag on himself. He promotes everybody else. And so what do? We want to promote him. We want him to be our leader. Now, think about your life for a second. I look back through my days of music, through days of ministry, through all kinds of realms in life. And this is exactly what I have seen in my life. That the people that I have got behind and pushed and promoted and bragged on and just said, man, you've got to know this person, you've got to be part of their life. These were people who made everything about me first. It's just human nature. People promote people who promote them. Third law or principle. People are drawn to enthusiasm. What are we talking about? We're talking about elevating our life by elevating those around us. Becoming genuinely interested in people. They're drawn to us. Promoting other people instead of promoting ourselves. They're drawn to us. Demonstrating a genuine enthusiasm in life. How many of you guys know that enthusiasm is addictive? We are drawn to it. It's contagious. And if we can learn to be a carrier of enthusiasm, people are drawn to enthusiasm. Enthusiasm that stems out of having vision for life. Anybody here drawn to people with genuine joy? Who loves hanging out with depressed people? I'm not saying you don't hang out with them and try to help them and cheer them up or anything, but how many would say, man, I want my inner circle to all be depressed people? What was the character on Saturday night? Debbie Downer. How many's ever known some Debbie Downers? And how many's ever said, man, I just can't wait to hang out with them every chance I get. No, you see them at Kroger and you run down the other aisle. I'm not going to lie to you. I run from people at Walmart all the time when I see them. Because I know I'm getting ready to get cornered, and by the time they get done puking all over me, I'm going to have to go down the beer aisle before I even go home. People, strangely enough, if you are the invoker, the carrier of enthusiasm, people are drawn to that. And have you ever noticed how that enthusiasm begets enthusiasm? I know that because I get around people who are enthusiastic and I find it coming out of me then. Like Miss Pam at VBS. Everybody wants to be around Miss Pam. Miss Pam's awesome. You've got to come to our VBS. Why? Because the kids are cute? No, it's Miss Pam. You've got to see Miss Pam. You just want to be around people who are genuinely enthusiastic. It pulls stuff out of you. The fourth law or principle of elevating your life by elevating those in your life. Investing in others is always an investment into your own life. Investing into others is always an investment into your own life. I've been in ministry for in the upper 30 some odd years. I don't really keep count of stuff like that. Boy, I rub shoulders with a lot of ministry. I've been through so many moves of God, especially through the charismatic movement, the prophetic movement, and the prosperity movement, and the stuff that was a whole lot of God and a little bit of man. Some of the movements were a whole lot of man and just a little bit of God. I have, as they say, shared the stage with at one time some of the biggest names out there in music and with the speakers. I have seen so many things that draw you to ministry and repulse you in ministry. I can tell you that there's a large percentage of people who go into ministry and they're just looking for a congregation. They're looking for someone to preach to, someone to hear what they've got to say. They've got all this important stuff to say. They're looking for a fan base. They're looking for admirers. I came out of one movement in the church years ago that when I walked away, actually, Cornerstone Family Church was part of a network of churches that was worldwide. The International Communion of Charismatic Churches, the single biggest Christian organization on planet Earth, about 10 times as big as the Southern Baptists. That's pretty big. Bentonita Hosa from Nigeria was the Grand Poobah at the time. He died, passed the torch to Earl Polk. Earl Polk had a moral failure. Torch got passed to one of my closest friends in Georgia, who had major health issues just a few years ago, was a young man, and had a very sad ending to his life. It was the word that was coming out of that movement was transforming my life. And yet the logistics of what I was seeing and how they had church was just... And so when I sent in our letter of resignation telling them we were pulling out of that network, I couldn't be part of it anymore, I felt like I'd gotten saved all over again. I got tired of going to conferences where the big name speakers, they sat in the back room drinking coffee and cutting up till praise and worship was halfway over because I guess they were just too good to be out there in the presence of God as much as the commoners. Nobody ever carrying their own Bible to the pulpit. Everybody had to have someone who carried the Bible for them and put it on the pulpit. They started mandating that we all wore collars. It doesn't work for me unless you turn me into a dog. I have nothing against anyone that wants to wear a collar. All power to them. It just didn't seem very rock and roll to me. And I got tired of the prestige of ministry. I got tired of the people there to serve us, to applaud us, to talk about how awesome we were. It's common in ministry, but it's not everybody in ministry. I've known also a lot of people that ended up in ministry that never pursued it, but felt called, very humble, and made their whole life about the people, wherever God sent them to serve. It may have been a church of just 25 people, and they served like it was 2,500. Investing in others is always an investment into your own life. And before we planted Cornerstone Family Church, my credentials have since been transferred to another organization. But at the time, and this is common in most denominations and movements and so forth, you are licensed into ministry, but you are not ordained into ministry unless you become vocational, full-time vocational. So at that point, I was going to be a vocational pastor, and they, at one of the conferences, had an ordination service, and it was a real powerful thing. I've told the story about it before. There was this really cool guy that, a little black pastor, he was barely taller than Lavinia. Where'd you go, Lavinia? Stand up, Lavinia. Oh, she is standing up. If you stand up, are you any taller than you are right now?
No.
I didn't think so. This dude, he pastored a church in Ahoskie, North Carolina, close to the beach. It was called Soul Saving Station. And this dude was cool. I wanted to talk like him so bad I couldn't stand. He could get up and preach chestnuts roasted on an open fire. And the way he did it, you'd have goosebumps all over you. This dude was too cool. He has passed away since also. And he was the main speaker that night. And they called me up there and they're praying over me. And I'm on my knees and these great men and women of God are surrounding me. All of a sudden I feel oil. He's declaring this prophetic anointing of David over my life as a psalmist. And I feel this oil hitting it. And I'm sitting there and I start weeping. It's like, oh my gosh, I actually feel oil on my head. And it starts running down my face and I reach up and it's like, it is actual. I think I'm going through the biggest miracle. And I go back to my chair. My wife is sitting there on the front row. I go back. I'm just tore up. I am broken. And I'm just sobbing. She's rubbing my back. And she's just rubbing my back. I said, little woman. She said, what? I said, it was incredible. I literally felt oil on my head and running down my face. You know what she said? She said, yeah, he was pouring it all over me. That's my only supernatural story, and it ended up not being supernatural. But that night, he was prophesying over my life and giving me advice. And he told me, he said, young man, if you will devote your life to promoting everyone God sends you, they will promote you. It's good advice. I'd like to tell you that I've lived that advice out to perfection. I have not. My flesh fights that just like everybody else's. I'm just like everybody else. If you don't guard your life, every second you find yourself making everything about you again. You need to hear me say this, and you need to be here when I do that, and you can't miss this. And yet, while those things are important, I have found they're not the most important things. The two men who have been most primary in my life taught me so much theologically, but it's not why they were great men in my life. It's because they were so genuinely interested in me and what God wanted to do in me and pull it out of me and promote me and elevate me. And so you know what I do? Both of those men are now gone. Kelly Varner, one of the greatest authors ever that there will be in the body of Christ, has written hundreds of books. I still give his books out to people. The man who was my pastor and Kim's pastor for many years, you know what I'm doing years after they're gone? I'm still talking about them. I'm still promoting them. I'm telling everybody how awesome they are. It's just how we work. It's human nature. The fifth and final principle or law for elevating your life by elevating those around you. You will find your purpose as you help other people find their purpose. You will find your purpose. If you're one that's been here through this class on next level, and you would honestly say, Pastor Scott, thanks for all the information. I'm not sure how to apply it. I'm not sure what my passions are. I'm not sure what my dreams are. I'm not sure what the next level of my life would even look like. I don't really know. I'm telling you, for everyone that's been in this class or this church or in the body of Christ at large who would say, I know exactly what my purpose is. For everyone that would say that, I promise you, there's 50 to 100 that would say, I'm not sure what my purpose is. Well, here's what I've noticed as a father and a pastor. I tend to see things of purpose in life before those people do. How many here would say you see things in your children before they see it? And you spend a lot of time trying to convince them. Sometimes it lands like a lead balloon because they don't see it. I try to convince my daughter of things that I see so clearly. And I know that everybody's kids are beautiful and everyone's kids are smart and all that. I know we say those things to our kids. But there are specific things that you all see in your kids. It's not your imagination. You see it. And you work hard. You devote your life to trying to pull that out of them. You exist to pull that out of them. Guys, I know that there's many of you that can relate to me, especially as you're getting older and as your kids are getting older. Fulfilling my life dreams, I'm not even sure what that would really even be anymore. Every part of me gets channeled to developing my daughter into what I see she's capable of. The things that I see in the people here. You would not believe how hard I have to work sometimes to convince people how talented they are. And sometimes I've often thought, do they see it? Do they know it? And are they just being lazy with me and they're acting ignorant so they don't have to take responsibility? Well, maybe every once in a while. But I believe most people just honestly can't see it in themselves. Their potential and their capabilities, and especially things in them that are, if they were raised in church, aren't the normal things that we used to put the spotlight on. You know, can you preach? Can you teach? Can you play the organ? Can you lead the choir? Okay, can you teach Sunday school? So that's ministry right there. Well, that may be American church ministry, but it's not Jesus-style ministry. Jesus-style ministry is the ministry that takes place every day in the everyday places that you walk in life. That's Jesus-style evangelism. It's Jesus-style discipleship. I've just been programmed to see the things that I see is valuable in people when they walk outside of this building. If we can spend our lives trying to help other people find their purpose, I promise you, we will automatically stumble into ours. You'll find it. God just sets it up that way. Serving others. Not trying to sell yourself to other people, but trying to sell other people on their own gifts. Becoming an inspirer. An inspirer. How many of you guys love having inspirers in your life? Oh, that person just inspires me. They just motivate me. Daniel's a motivator. He's always telling these people they can run faster than they can run. And they can't. I can never run as fast as he thinks I can run. I love to be inspired. I am very moved. I'm very, very drawn, very connected to people that when I can't inspire myself, they're inspiring me. They're motivating me. What are we saying? We're saying what Paul was saying. Don't be deceived. God won't be mocked in this. There will be no exceptions. This is a general, supernatural law principle in life. It will work this way. Whatever a person sows, they will reap. If they sow bad stuff, they'll reap bad stuff. If they sow good stuff, they'll reap good stuff. Thank God grace tempers some of that to help us learn lessons and grow, or we'd all be crushed. Context, Paul says, by the way, here's your application. The people that are around you in your life. This is where I want you to practice this. Sowing into people, sowing into people, sowing into people, sowing into people. What will happen if you keep sowing into other people's lives? You reap in your life. We are trained as Americans, American Christians even, to be by nature so self-centered. Working hard to get more of this and more of that for me, making my name great, making my reputation great. Why do we all love Facebook so much? Because Facebook is the first thing that's ever been given to us where we have complete power at our disposal to manage, at least we think, manage how people see us. So we post the pictures of all of our great foods. And we post pictures of things that makes people, in our mind at least, say, golly gee willikers, I wish I was them. They're so awesome. And I love Facebook. I'm a Facebook person. My wife's on sabbatical. She's taking a hiatus. She needed to. She was on it a whole lot more than me. I don't ever look at Facebook unless I'm like sitting around real bored waiting on something to happen. I'm not one who gets on it at night, and it's a time killer for me more than recreational, but it's a very valuable ministry tool. Very, very, very valuable. And if you're part of an organization of any kind, keeping people on the same page, I just love Facebook and all of its capabilities. Point being, by nature, it's been in us from the beginning. It's been our biggest struggle since the day God created us. It's the pride thing. We want to make everything about us. And so we try to surround ourselves with people who can make our life better. We connect with people who there's something in it for us, to know them, to be their friend. I love making friends with people where there's nothing in it for me. Kelly Varner, my great spiritual father, told me this the weekend before the first Sunday that Cornerstone opened its doors over there where the teen center's at. He said, Scott, he said, you're going to be a new church. You're in the Appalachian Mountains. This is 24 years ago. You're not a denomination. People are going to say things about you, even though they don't know you. They're going to make things up. They're going to be afraid of you. Speaking of the church, because we're not part of the system. He said, so the people that start coming through the door may not be the people that you really envisioned was going to make up the core of that church. You know, the movers, the shakers, the people with money, the super educated, the pretty people. You know, we all want pretty people in our church. It's the only reason that I'm still part of the worship team, because I read that it inspires people to worship if somebody pretty is leading worship. That could be part of our problem here, I don't know. So this was his advice. He says, God, if you will take the people that nobody else wants, I promise you, take the people nobody else wants, promote them, pour into them, inspire them, take the people that nobody else wants, and God will make them the people everybody else wants. So guess what happened? And it didn't take a whole lot of years. Cornerstone Family Church gained a reputation of being the church in this community whose people served like they'd never seen church people serve before. If I lined all my pastor buddies up here tonight and you asked them, so what do you think about this place just based on what you hear all the time? They would tell you, we just don't understand how you can build such a servant base. Whenever we built here, and they all said, so that's going to be a lot of money, isn't it? And they're talking about all these millions of dollars. I said, no, we've got a $600,000 budget. And they go, you can't do that. That's a $3 million building. I said, yeah, we're going to do it because we're going to do most of the labor ourselves. I said, you won't do it. You'll get discouraged. There was a church that way towards Virginia, just on this side of the line, that tried to do it just before us. I went down there with some guys to look at how they had built some things to get some ideas. And that pastor looked me in the eye when I told him how we were doing it. He said, don't you do it. He said, you will end up angry, mad, you're going to frustrate the people, and you'll split the whole church. You better just wait till you got the money to hire it out. Because that was their experience. It was a terrible, terrible thing. We did have a few little run-ins, and some people threw a few hammers across the floor every once in a while. Nobody got injured. But oh my gosh, what a handful of people accomplished was unbelievable. And every time we're going to do something, and my wife sends a prayer and says, we'll need 100 to 150 people working hard for several weeks to pull this off. And every time we do it, there's always this thing in the back of my mind. It's like, have we been here so long that we're going to start becoming a normal church? And we're not going to be able to pull this off. And then every time the doors open, people flood in. Here's my point. All my pastor buddies, they want you in their church because they're not used to people serving the way that you guys do. How many want to elevate their life? Every single thing that I've talked about tonight, every single thing, is exactly what you expect God to do for your life. We expect God to make everything about us, to promote us, to elevate us, to inspire us, to show genuine interest in our life. And He does. And then you know what we do? We exalt Him. And we make God famous. Our job is to make God famous. God makes it His job to make us famous. That's how life works. So I want to pray for us tonight, because this is easier said than done. Would you agree with me? It's hard to give your life away to everybody around you when you have so many things you need in your own life. God said, I will not be mocked in this. You can't change it. It's a supernatural law. This is going to happen to you. He said, especially if you don't give up before your harvest comes in. So, he said, into the people around you, especially those in the body of Christ, Paul said. And if we can do that, guys, we're going to the next level. Whatever that means per individual, we're going to the next level. Now, I want to tell you one picture before I pray for you. It's in Ezekiel. I love this picture when I saw it. Anyone ever attempted to read Ezekiel before? It's pretty tricky. It's a lot of imagery in there, a lot of symbolism, a lot of prophetic imagery in there. One of the most beautiful pictures is a picture of the river that flows out from underneath the temple gate. And as the river flows out from the temple, it gets deeper and deeper, right? How many remembers that story? And it's the picture of exactly what I was talking about. And here, it's going to be good. This is like the Holy of Holies. This is where the presence of God, the mind of God, the heart of God, it's all generated here in discipleship, but it's supposed to flow out from this place. And as we flow out from this place, it's supposed to get deeper and deeper, deeper, not deeper in here. The veil was ripped not so we could get into the Holy of Holies. The veil was ripped so we could get out of the Holy of Holies, out into the outer courts where the people are at. And then Ezekiel saw the picture on the river. There were fruit trees on each side of the river. And he looked at the fruit trees that were teeming with fruit. And then he saw something that blew his mind. The fruit trees started picking fruit off each other and eating it. They weren't eating their own fruit. It's our nature to try to eat our own fruit. They were picking the fruit off the other trees. They were feeding each other. Now, how many's ever heard that little story that depicts heaven and hell? The moral of the story basically was the people didn't have arms anymore. They had these big long spoons for arms, and the food was there, but they couldn't figure out how to get the spoon down there and feed themselves, so they were all starving. And that was a picture of hell. The picture of heaven, it was the same people, and they had big long spoons for arms, and they were all just thriving with the food, because you know what they were doing? They were feeding each other. There's your difference between heaven and hell on earth, right there. So, Father, I praise you tonight that you said it, Lord. We started this whole series off, Father, with your remarks to Joshua, when you made clear to him and that generation of people that you wanted them to have success everywhere they stepped. You were taking them to a land filled with promise. You wanted them to find those promises. You wanted them to find their passions and find their dreams. That's the way you are. Fathers are like that. But Lord, we'll never go to the next level. We'll never find success in life. We'll never find our passions. We'll never find our dreams and realize them because we are self-serving. Because we're devoting our lives to our lives. You said if a man wants to find life, he has to lose his life. He has to give his life away. Even when we know that, and we know it's true, it's still hard to do, Lord. I'm asking you tonight for every one of us in this room and everyone that's going to be listening to this online, Lord, that by the power of your Spirit, that you will make us so conscious and so aware of this. Not just in the next 48 hours, but Lord, for the years to come, that we will remember that going to the next level means elevating the people around us, and that will elevate us. Help us to see inside of the people's lives around us what we need to see, what we need to do, what we need to say, how we need to help them, how we can inspire them, how we can promote them. I know this has been a mystery, Lord. May we walk out of here tonight with a pure revelation of this.